Harry Benson is here. He has worked as a photojournalist since he was a young man in Scotland. In 1964, he was assigned to cover the Beatles' arrival in the United States, and he never left. He has covered many of the most significant events since the 1960s, including the assassination of Robert F. Kennedy. He has photographed actors and athletes and celebrities and has captured every president since John F. Kennedy. His newest book is Harry Benson, 50 Years in Pictures. I am pleased to welcome him to this table and to talk about a remarkable life. Here it is, to 4 or 5 of the most famous people in the world.
Right. Absolutely. Well, icons of that time, you know, and still are. Yeah. Still are. And also I photographed them at their best. Because Ali was just, well, he was Cassius Clay then, but he was just coming. And the Beatles, that was them on their way as well. But with that picture, I remember I'll tell you what happened there was, I saw Cassius Clay on TV, and I thought this would be a good picture with the Beatles. Yeah. So I go to the Beatles and I suggest going to do a picture with him, and they said no, he was going to get beaten. They wanted Sonny Liston.
How wrong they were.
So I go to Liston, who said he didn't want to see those bums.
Not interested in the Beatles.
So what I took, and the Beatles thought they were going to see Liston. And they never forgave me, though. It took them a long time to
What a great picture, though.
Thank you.
Does it seem like 50 years?
No, it just seems like
yesterday you were taking pictures.
Yeah, and it's, you know, you always feel you've still got to take your best pictures. Yeah. You know, it's because, you know, it's never boring, it's exciting. It's, you don't know what you're going to see.
Yeah. You listened to Winston Churchill's speeches and you were inspired, what, to be part and to make a record of great events?
No, to be the center, and you know, photography was a way out for me. I had to leave school at 13, not because the family was poor, but Scottish education was very difficult. But photography was a way out, you know.
Did you love it?
Oh, I've always loved it. It's fun.
What is it you love about it, other than being fun?
No, it's unexpected. But I mean, you're working all the time. You're like a horse with blinkers. You're onto it. I mean, sometimes you get it, and sometimes you don't. You know.
Let's just talk about one picture. This is Vanity Fair. I mean, this shows you how difficult it is, and at the same time, there's an interesting story here. Here's a picture in this Vanity Fair. This is about Chelsea Clinton at Oxford.
Yeah.
You know, where she's getting some kind of graduate education, and there she is. And how'd you get that picture?
Well, I was there for Vanity Fair to photograph her because I knew if I saw Chelsea, I knew she would speak to me, you know, and I wasn't going to do a paparazzi on her, though I've nothing against paparazzi, believe me. So she was with a boyfriend kissing and cuddling in a corner in a cafe, so I go over and said, "Hi, Chelsea," and she went, "Oh,
Harry, Harry, you're not taking these pictures, are you?"
So I said to her, you know, I'd like to get a picture of you. So we spoke for a while, and she said, "All right, I will pose, and I'll see you." It was 12:30. I'll see you at 2 o'clock outside her university, and I get up to go, and I turned and said to her, "Do me a favour, Chelsea. Don't tell Hillary." And she says to me, "Harry, I'm a big girl now." But I knew because she was with her boyfriend, you know.
Yeah. Do you normally prefer that they be posed, or that you just simply find them in a way when they're being natural?
Oh, I prefer them being natural. Oh, yeah, but I mean, the way photography is now, they want everything all clean and tidy and architecturally right, where on Fleet Street where I worked it was much more spontaneous. I prefer it, you know.
Prefer it for it to be spontaneous?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
What do you like most doing? What kinds of photographs?
Anything, but anything at all, really. I mean, I can't do heights, but I mean, when you're with a president, this is historic. That time he's given to you, and it's out of your hands, really, that you've really got to do something here. And I think this is sort of growing up in the war, and you know, and understanding what all that was.
Has it changed a lot?
Oh, yes, yes.
How has it changed?
It changed a lot because, and it's amazed me, is that a lot of newspapers, magazines go through the public relations people, the PRs. Yeah. That was absolutely heard of in Fleet Street. It still is in a lot of ways, and that always amazed me, that how the PRs were also, holding everybody back and telling them who they can talk to and who they can't, and what they can say. I mean that's mind-boggling. That's a big thing, how it's changed.
This is 50 years of your life right here.
Yeah.
50 years of your life. Here's probably the saddest day. There's a picture of Ethel holding her hand up.
Yeah, she's screaming for air. This is something you expect, Charlie, that something unexpected could happen. So you've always got your cameras at the ready, that if something awful happened here right now, am I prepared for it? Well, I'm glad I came through that night because it was a terrible thing, and it was a big news story, and it wasn't long after Dallas, so the memory was and some photographers actually criticized me for taking it, for doing it, and how could I, and Bobby was a nice guy, I liked him, but I know when I meet Bobby, he'll say it was all right, I know that, but
when you meet Bobby, he'll say it's okay.
Yeah, but I'm not there to editorialize what people should see, what they shouldn't see. I mean, it was the same as Princess Diana, her death. The photographers had to take it. They were sent there. They were professional. They tried to blame it on them.
You have no criticism of the paparazzi when they follow people to the ends of their experience. I mean, constantly looking for them to be doing something that will capture them in an embarrassing moment.
No, Charlie, they call them paparazzi when they want to put them down.
Yeah.
Actually, they were guys doing their job. They weren't there for nothing.
They were there because somebody sent them there, and somebody
right.
wanted the picture.
Yes, big time. You know what I mean? And this was a big story when you've got the mother of the next king of England having an affair with a playboy, and she also phoned a couple of the photographers to tell them where she was going to be. And it was drunk driving, it killed her.
All right, take a look at this. These are some of your pictures, and I mentioned Kennedy said. The first is Housewives with American Sailors. This was way back in 1961 in Glasgow.
Yeah.
What a great picture.
And thank you. I worked for the Hamilton Advertiser then, not the Express, and it was where David Livingstone, the Scottish missionary. But these women are happy. But this was not a happy event. This was a big political story because now they had put nuclear weapons on the Clyde side.
Next slide. There's a pillow fight in the hotel with the Beatles.
Yeah, well, that's my favourite picture.
Of all?
Of all. Yeah, because it's a happy picture, and it's right at the Beatles were at their best. And it was the night they were told we're #1 in America. Yeah. I want to hold your hand.
The next one is Robert F. Kennedy's assassination, which I mentioned here. There's the Senator lie on the floor of the kitchen as he's...
Oh, no, terrible. Well, when I get pushed off the hot plate thing by Jesse Unruh, the speaker, and which meant I was... At one time, I was no more than 2.5 feet from Bobby. And I knew he'd had it. And Ethel screaming at him, Bobby, I often wake up at night. I don't mean having a nightmare, but I can go through everything exactly what happened in that kitchen. And I was the last one to leave it. But I'll tell you something which is interesting about it. After taking the pictures and I transmitted to London, I phoned the FBI to tell them, because I knew I was the last man there. I knew I was the last one in the kitchen of the press, because I kept saying to myself, this is for history. So anyway, I had all these pictures, and I phoned the FBI, and there was in the Beverly Hills Hotel. Anyway, nobody came. When I came back to New York for the funeral, called them again. To this day, they haven't been to see it.
They never responded to your calls?
No.
You said, I have photographs, I was in the kitchen.
Yes. Now, you think they would come and they would go and look and, look and see. Well, you said you weren't in the kitchen, because I photographed people like Jimmy Breslin, who were in there.
Friends of Bobby.
Yeah, but,
Yeah. Next slide is Ethel Kennedy.
Yeah, screaming.
Screaming. The next one is Martin Luther King's funeral in Atlanta in 1968. Dr. King, as you...
That's one thing I'm very pleased I covered with the civil rights. Very pleased that I was, you know, was with King and all that, Meredith March and all that. That was rough down there, though.
You have been an eyewitness to history.
Yeah, no, but thank you. But that was rough down. Mississippi was the worst.
The worst.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
The scaredest you were.
Yeah, you had to be very careful there. You couldn't, there were some motels you couldn't really stop at. I remember being in Philadelphia, Mississippi. We were lucky to get out with your life. That was the roughest.
The next is Bobby Fischer, the world chess champion. This is in Iceland in 1972. There he is.
He's the greatest character I've ever met.
Really?
Oh, absolutely.
Because?
Well, because I was the only one he was talking to, and the only one he trusted. And I've always thought that there's always a friend in the enemy camp. And why not me? You know, I mean, there always is one, and he wouldn't even speak to his mother, who came up there. But actually, I told him he was the champion, because I was going to photograph Spassky, you know, during the chess match.
Boris Spassky.
Yeah, and Spassky was leaving the hotel, and he said to me, Harry, you don't want to photograph me because there's a new world champion.
Boris Spassky said that to you?
Yes, Robert James Fischer. That's what he said to me. So I said, oh. So I go and see, I rush over to the Loughleader Hotel to see Fischer, knock at his door, and Bobby'd been up all night, you know, open the door. And he goes, who? And he says to me, where is it, Harry? I said, well, let me be the first to congratulate you. You're the world champion. And he thought it was a trick, because he didn't trust the Russians. Hated them. He said, no, and he said, I said, this is what Spassky told me. He said, well, I don't doubt you, Harry, but he said, I've been up all night going through the moves, you know, and I'm in a better position than he is. But if he's careful, he could get a draw. So Spassky just packed it in. He had enough of it.
Yeah, that's a great story, Harry. The next one is Richard Nixon resigning in August of 1974. There he is, the famous last...
Yeah.
He's talking to his staff there. You liked him?
Yes, I did.
Why?
It's very difficult.
Because, not so much.
It's very difficult to dislike somebody who allows you to do your job.
He wanted you to take good photographs.
Yes, he did. I remember being in San Clemente not long after, you know, it was out of office. I mean, really, days. And I said to him, well, thank you, Mr. President. No, this is a bad time. He said, well, Harry, you must allow professional people to do their job. You know, all the White House press, you know, the photographers, they all liked him. And his wife was lovely. In fact, you know, it was interesting because the White House press photographers, nobody bothered to interview them during coming up to Watergate. And sometimes the photographers, like within feet of these people, and you hear them whispering. You know.
Yes.
You know, they did that with me, but what you would never do is meet their eyes. That means you.
Yes. All right. The next one is the President and Mrs. Reagan dancing. Yeah. This was for Vanity Fair or not?
Vanity Fair was a cover in Vanity Fair.
Yeah.
I liked her.
You liked her?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, I do. She's a great lady, really.
Here's one of my favorite people.
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
This is in Aspen or where?
It's in Aspen. That was just near his home, and
was it difficult to get access to Nicholson?
No, he was fine. He's always been good with the press and that.
Next is Bill and Hillary Clinton in Little Rock in 1992.
Yeah.
This is after they have won the election?
Yeah. I thought it was rather sensuous that they're not quite meeting. The lips are not... You know.
The next one is Governor Bush in Austin, Texas in 2000.
That's right.
This is in the governor's mansion in Austin.
Governor's mansion, yes. I always thought he was a hard little man, though, when people were saying after well, he's kind of soft. I said, no, I think he's a hard little man. He looks to you like the way a professional boxer looks at you.
Really?
But looking at you, but not...
How is that? How do they look
looking at you, but not quite. You know? It's like they're looking at your moves. It's the eyes, you know?
People who photograph well have what? Is it in their soul, or is it just in their face, in their facial features?
I think, I think, you know, what they do and it's a good question, because a lot of people, after you photograph them and years later you look at them and you say, you know, they were lucky that anybody photographed them. And some people, no, they've got, I mean, I would love to photograph Hitler, you know.
Because?
Oh, I'd love to photograph him with his dogs and all that, just to show another side of this man, you know.
How would you have captured the banality of this man?
I think,
because they always say these stories, Harry, about when these mass murders are discovered, and they'll go visit their neighbors, and their neighbors will say, well, gee, he was very nice to his dogs, you know, which I always thought is
but
silly.
I always find that more creepy, a bit more
creepy.
Yes, than people looking tough, you know. It's no, when people tell me something like
it shows you that the evil is not a matter of fact.
Yes. No, when people say to me, so and so's a wonderful person, lovely, you'll love him, Harry, I'd go for my revolver. You know what I mean? I know I've got. I
don't know what you mean.
No, I know I've got a problem with him.
Oh, if they say he's a sweetheart, you say it's a problem.
This is a problem. Yeah. But Bobby Fischer was an absolute monster.
A sweetheart, but he was a sweetheart because he was a monster.
That's right. But now he's worth going after.
Yeah.
Now he's worth the problems.
Why don't you go back and photograph him now, wherever he is?
Well, God knows where. I mean, I know. He says a lot of anti-American things, you know.
I know. I don't even know where he lives.
Yeah, well, he was. I know at a time he was living on the Hungarian-Yugoslavia border, you know, right in the middle of all
yes. Why do you think you've been so successful?
It goes up and down, up and down. I mean, it's you know, I'll go back to, it's fun. I don't know what I would have done if I had to have worked for a living, you know. You know, really, I'm not joking.
I know you're not.
No, I mean, really. I mean, what you're basically doing is getting a camera and putting it in an interesting position.
Right.
That's what you try to do.
And recording an interesting person.
Yeah, and
or place.
Or a picture you will look at. You'll stop and look at.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of those in here. Harry Benson, 50 years in pictures. Extraordinary stories behind each of these photographs. Thank you, Harry.
Oh, thank you.
Great to have you on the program.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. See you next time.